to Study Time, a televised home learning program produced by Rwanda Education Board.
Hello students, welcome to the biology lesson on TV programs and where we're going to be learning and watching. As usual, I'm teacher Herbert, who is going to be taking you through biology unit 7 of senior 3, which is concerning about heterotrophic nutrition. It is a we are continuing on heterotrophic nutrition, where we're going to be making about digestion in the stomach and digestion in the small intestines. So, as you know, the learning objective of that lesson is precisely to talk about digestion in the stomach. We're going to be discussing about digestion in the stomach, as well as I'm going to be mentioning about digestion in the small intestines. So the learning objective of today, learning objectives of today, learning objectives. Is to talk about digestion, and it is a continuation of the last lesson. This is the second lesson, digestion in the stomach. In the stomach, that is number 1. We discuss about digestion in the stomach. Number 2, we talk about digestion in the stomach and digestion. I say digestion in the stomach and the small intestines. Small intestines. So, students, that's what we're going to be discussing, and we're also going to see some of the enzymes that participate in the digestion. We talk about enzymes that plays a role, that participates in the process, in the digestion. So students, let's first come to understand what you understand by stomach. If I say, what is a stomach by its definition? Who can tell me what you understand by stomach? So you can say a stomach by definition is a thick walled muscular bag that stretches when it fills with the food. And we can say it is located on the left side of the abdomen, just you can say just below the diaphragm. So let's take that definition. You can say the stomach is a thick walled muscular bag that stretches as it is fills with the food. And I said it is located on the left side. If I say on the left side of our body, I can say on the left side I'm mentioning here, that's where the stomach is located, just below the diaphragm. And I said that there are a number, if I'm trying to draw the structure of the stomach. You see, if I'm trying to locate it, you can see this is the structure of the stomach. And I can see on the opening of the esophagus, we have the pharynx and the esophagus. Okay? And if I say what is another name of the esophagus, we normally call it the gullet. So this is esophagus. Then we have some muscles which are supposed to be a ring, which is located here, and that one is referred as the cardiac sphincter. And the cardiac sphincter, we have another one which is located at the lower end, which is called the pyloric sphincter. This one is called the pyloric sphincter. These two muscles, sphincters, they normally, pyloric sphincter, which normally opens when the food enters. The cardiac sphincter, it gets its name from what you call cardiac. It is normally located near to the heart. So you can see we have cardiac sphincter and pyloric sphincter. I can say the ring of muscles called the cardiac sphincter is found at the point where the esophagus opens the stomach. So opening the stomach, we have a cardiac sphincter. It opens and food is going to move from the esophagus to the stomach. I can say this is the stomach. We can call it the stomach or can call it the gastric gland. The gastric gland is also called as stomach. And I said there is another ring which is also found below, which is called the pyloric sphincter, which is found below at the lower end of the stomach, which is called pyloric sphincter. The two sphincters, they work together and they control the movement of food into and out of the stomach, respectively. Both of them, they help to control the food, the entry and exit of the food into the stomach and exiting the stomach. These are normally two sphincter muscles. This one opens, and once this one opens, this one closes. They don't open at the same time. They normally open in intervals. That's what I can mention. So you can say they help to retain the food for a long period. That is, say, in the stomach, that can just be stored between 2 to 6 hours. So the food must be in the stomach of between 2 to 6 hours. That's what I'm mentioning about the process of digestion. So let's talk about now, I talked about when the food reaches the stomach, what happens to the food? Automatically, when the food reaches into the stomach, the walls begins to a wave-like contraction, which is similar to what you call peristalsis. Once the food reaches into the stomach, what happens? Automatically, there must be what you call a wave-like contraction, which is referred to as a peristalsis. If I say peristalsis, I can refer to as a rhythmic movement of food along the gut. Peristalsis. If I say peristalsis, automatically once the food reaches into the stomach, they must be having what you call a wave-like movement, which is called and involves what you call contraction. In that process of contraction, it involves what you call churning the food, mixing the food with the hydrochloric acid and even the mucus that are found in the stomach. So that one is called peristalsis, and I said peristalsis refers to a rhythmic. If I say rhythmic movement of food along the gut, all right, or along the alimentary canal. As I can say, automatically, this continues. It involves what you call mechanical digestion. If I say mechanical digestion, we have two types of digestion. One is mechanical digestion. Another one is called chemical digestion. Number two is chemical digestion. If I say mechanical digestion, it is a type of digestion where the food is being broken down into smaller pieces or into simple soluble compounds by the help of teeth, or what you call mastication. And we have what you call chemical digestion. That one involves some enzymes. We have what you call digestive enzymes. Some that are found in the mouse. Take an example like salivary amylase that is found in the mouse. Breaking starch into maltose. If I say breaking starch, precisely I'm mentioning about cooked starch, because we normally feed on cooked starch. And we also have some enzymes that are found in the stomach, which is called chemical digestion, where the food must be broken down by the help of enzymes that are found in the stomach. Some of the enzymes that are found in the stomach, we have the renin, we have the pepsin, and also we also talk about what you call hydrochloric acid. I said now we can continue and say, this continues the mechanical breakdown of food that starts in the mouth, churning the food into a semi-liquid form, which is called chyma. After from there, the food has to be churning the food into a semi-liquid substance called chyma. If I say chyma, it's supposed to be after being broken down, what you're going to be found in the stomach, it is called the chyma. Then I said after 2 to 6 hours, what will happen? Automatically, churning and digestion also automatically is taking place. The churning is gradually, I can say it is gradually released into a small amount into the duodenum and through a pyloric sphincter now. After being churned from there, it is going to be released into small amounts through a pyloric sphincter, where it is going to go to the duodenum. If I say the duodenum is the first part of the small intestines, all right? Excellent. So let's talk about now about the stomach lining has many openings. If I say many openings, which these are called what you call the gastric opening, those are called the gastric pits. On the diagram, we try to see this one is called the gastric gland. On the gastric gland, we have what we call the gastric pits. These gastric pits are very important because they are the one that produces what we call the gastric juice. And the gastric juice contains some enzymes and contains some of the hydrochloric acid. I said gastric pits, and they normally originate. These gastric pits, as I'm mentioning, we have here what we call gastric pits. These gastric pits normally originate from what we call gastric glands. And the gastric gland secretes very useful substances or useful materials that are produced, and they normally play a big role as far as digestion is concerned. You can say these gastric pits, they originate from gastric glands. As you can see, and I can tell you, the gastric gland is what you call the mucus layer, which is called mucosa. We have submucosa. We have what you call oblique layer of what you call maceraries and etc. So these are the part that makes what you call the gastric gland. I can say, from there I can say, they produce a liquid which is called gastric juice, and I can say the gastric, if I say what are the major components of gastric juice? Let's have some components. Components of gastric juice. If I say gastric juice, I said it is normally produced by the gastric glands. And what does it do? What are those major components that makes up the gastric juice? I can say the gastric juice is made up of what you call enzymes. We are going to mention those enzymes that are found there. We also have, number 2, we can talk about hydrochloric acid, HCl, hydrochloric acid. And you can also not forget what you call a mucus. Mucus, which is also another substance which is produced which is also found in the gastric juice. I can say the stomach lining has very many openings, as I mentioned it before, which is called the gastric pits. And I said gastric pits are originated from what you call gastric glands. And I can say the gastric glands produces a liquid which is called a same liquid known as what you call gastric juice into the stomach. And once this juice is produced, it must be mixed with the food. During churning of the food in the stomach. The production of gastric juice, what stimulates the production of gastric juice? We have a number of hormones that normally stimulates the production of gastric juice. Let's talk about some of the hormones that are involved that stimulates the production of gastric juice. What are the hormones that normally stimulates the production of gastric juice? Is called hormones. A hormone that stimulates the production or the secretion of gastric juice. The hormone is called the gastrin. The hormone is called gastrin. But not only that can stimulate the production of gastric juice, once you smell a food or you taste food, also production of the gastric juice. So that gastric juice is normally stimulated by a hormone which is called gastrin. But I can ask you, student, what do you understand by hormones? If I'm talking about hormones, I think some of you may find you're not knowing what is a hormone. A hormone is a chemical substance that are produced by the endocrine glands. A hormone is a chemical substance produced by the endocrine gland. Endocrine gland. If I say endocrine gland, I say most of the endocrine glands are glands which produces what you call chemical substances. Take an example, like hormones. And sometimes endocrine glands are referred to as ductless glands. They are referred to as ductless glands. It means that they secrete or they empty their secretions into ducts. All right. So we're talking about, I said, produce these once you smell a food or once gastrin is stimulated, automatically gastric juice must be produced. Let's talk about the gastric. I said the major constituent of gastric juice. I talked about hormones. We talked about not hormones. I mentioned about some of the enzymes that are found in a gastric juice. We have pepsin. You can say, let me take a note of that. Gastric juice contains three important substances. As I'm mentioning it, substances. Namely, you can talk about pepsin. You can talk about the renin. You can talk about hydrochloric acid, as well as you can talk about the mucus. And we're going to see how all of these things, how it works, and how are their functions. Let me start with the pepsin. Renin and pepsin, both of them, they are referred to as protein digestive enzymes. Because they are protein digestive enzymes, because they act on proteins. All right? So these two are referred to as protein digestive enzymes. We have hydrochloric acid. One of the functions of hydrochloric acid, we're going to mention a number of functions of hydrochloric acid, and we're going to see how does hydrochloric acid play a role of preventing the body, because you have what you call the body defends from any mechanical substances. Either the hydrochloric acid can act as a line of defense, all right, protecting the body from bacteria or any microorganism. So let's talk about the pepsin. Pepsin is a protein digestive enzyme found in the stomach. And what does pepsin do? Pepsin automatically, we can say pepsin acts on protein by converting proteins into peptides. You can say proteins, and we have an enzyme which is called pepsin, which converts proteins into peptides. If I say peptides, you know the final results of proteins are peptides or amino acids. And I can tell you that this enzyme, which is called pepsin, works in an environment which is acidic. If I say it works in an environment which is acidic, it means it must be in an environment which is ranging from 1 to 2. If I say the pH must be less than 3. If the pH is less than 3, it means that the enzyme pepsin is going to be able to be active. Once it is not active, it has to be activated by some of the substances. All right. So you can say the gastric juice, I said, each of these substances are released by different cells lining inside the gastric glands. I can say the walls of the stomach also have a special epithelial cells. As I mentioned, special epithelial cells. These special epithelial cells releases mucus, and I can say the mucus will be acting as a shield that protects the hydrochloric acid not to attack the gastric wall. All right. As I mentioned, you have to call epithelial cells, which releases mucus that form a shield between the stomach wall and the gastric juice. I can say it prevents the digestion of stomach lining by the enzymes and even including hydrochloric acid. Let's talk about the function of the components of the gastric juice. Let's talk about the components of gastric juice. What are the major components of gastric juice? What are the major components of gastric juice? I said one is hydrochloric acid. Can say functions functions of the components of gastric juice, the juice of the gastric. All right? Let me start with, I said this we have what we call acid, and acid has several functions in the stomach. One of the functions which starts with hydrochloric acid. Hydrochloric acid. If I say hydrochloric acid, you can put it in a chemical formula which is HCl. What does HCl do in our body? I will be mentioning some of the functions of hydrochloric acid. Number one, it kills microorganisms, including the bacteria that may be present in the food. Killing the bacteria and microorganisms that must be present in the food is normally done by hydrochloric acid. So it helps to protect the body against some of the bacterial infections. So that is one of the functions of hydrochloric acid. Number two, it changes inactive pepsinogen into an active enzyme which is called pepsin. Okay? It changes inactive form of pepsinogen into active form of what you call pepsin. So meaning that when it is in form of inactive form, the pepsin cannot perform its function as well. Number three, it provides an acidic medium for enzyme pepsin to perform its function. And I think we can say, as I mentioned, the pH of the stomach must be ranging between from 1 to 3. That's when the enzyme, those protein digestive enzymes, they must be active. I can also talk about it creates, as I was talking about, it creates a suitable pH medium for enzyme pepsin to perform its function. The last one, you can say it prevents food from being fermented. It prevents food from being fermented. So I will just try to, can say, one, it kills germs. It kills bacteria that are present in the food components. Number two, I said it provides a suitable medium for enzyme pepsin to perform its function efficiently, and properly. Perform its function. I also mentioned it also prevents food from being fermented. Let's talk about renin. I can say renin is normally found in young infants. If I say young infants, it means it is found in babies, in young mammals. Because young mammals, most of them, they are depending on what you call, it is depending on milk. All right? So renin is very important because its function is to make a liquid milk, which is called, it makes a liquid milk to curdle. If I say to curdle, it makes the milk to coagulate. Okay? So if it makes milk to curdle, it means that substance which is found, which is called carcinogen, it must be converted into casein. And if it is converted into casein, it is going to be helped to be acted upon by enzyme pepsin. That's why I'm saying that it does this by converting a soluble milk protein into insoluble form, which is called casein. Changing a soluble milk into insoluble milk, which is called casein, and that one provides a suitable environment for pepsin to perform its function efficiently. Let's talk about the small intestines. If I say the small intestines, quickly let us go to the diagram here. We have digestion from the mouth. Normally, it's normally helped by the teeth. We go to the esophagus, where the food has to be moved by the process of what you call peristalsis. We go to the stomach. I said in the stomach we have a number of gastric juice which plays a role as far as digestion is concerned. And we go to the small intestines, and I talked about the small intestine. We have what they call, the first part of the small intestine is referred as the duodenum, and also there are a number of enzymes that are found in the duodenum and which performs very many functions. So we also talk about the small intestines. Small intestine sometimes is called ileum. The ileum is where the absorption takes place. All right? So we have the small intestine, we have the large intestine. And remember, the function of the large intestine is reabsorption of water. So you can say the small intestine is ranging from 6 to 7 centimeters long. And I can say in adult human being, it is made up of duodenum and even the ileum. I can say the small intestines are made up of duodenum, all right, duodenum, and the ileum. I can say there are a number of enzymes that are found there, and I try to mention some of the enzymes that are found in the duodenum and as others that are found in the ileum. Precisely here, I can also try to show the diagram. We have the liver. The liver also produces what we call bile. And what does bile do? Emulsification of fats. If I say emulsification of fats, breaking large droplets of fats into smaller droplets of fats. And I can also talk about other enzymes that are produced in the duodenum. We have what we call trypsin. We have trypsin, we have lipase, we have pancreatic amylase. We also have what we call sodium bicarbonate. And we also have what we call bile. All these things are normally produced in the small intestines and in the duodenum, and they facilitate in the process of digestion. Trypsin and lipase and pancreatic amylase, all these enzymes, they are normally found in an environment which is not acidic, environment which is alkaline. The trypsin breaks down proteins into peptides. Lipase, it does a function. All enzymes must be having S, except some of the enzymes. Take an example like trypsin and renin. Lipase breaks down fats into fatty acids and glycerol. We talk about pancreatic amylase. It does a function of breaking down starch into maltose. We have sodium bicarbonate, provides a suitable environment, neutralizing the acid that has been from the stomach, and neutralizes the acid and provides an alkaline medium for enzyme trypsin and lipase to perform its function. So it means that in the duodenum and in the ileum, the environment is alkaline. All right. So simply, we are winding up our lesson. Quickly, let us have a home assignment. I will review the home assignment. And here are the home assignment. You have to do it. And next lesson, we are going to make a review of it on the onset of the next lesson. And I hope everybody will do it. And here is a reference book where you can get the information that I'm discussing with you. The Biology and Health Science for Rwanda Schools, Senior 3 on page 111. So, students, thank you very much for being with me in my lesson. See you in the next lesson.